Welcome back to the Next Play podcast. This is Tommy Brown with my co-host Greg Stewart. Greg, how we doing today?
Doing great. Hi, everybody.
We have two very special guests today. We have Brad and Gracie Hood. It's going to be an incredible story of inspiration and how I got to know Brad and Gracie. I did one of our mini clinics for them and was in the classroom and saw this charismatic young lady kept answering questions, and I didn't even know it was the coach's daughter, and just kept answering questions. And I didn't know at that point that she just had one arm. And then we get on the court and I'm like, wow. And so that's how I was introduced to them. So Greg's going to get us started with a couple questions, and I think this is going to be really cool.
Yeah, this is amazing to hear. I'm looking forward to hearing Gracie's story. Gracie, Brad, welcome to the Next Play podcast. And Gracie, I'm going to ask you to start out today for us first and tell us your life story and a little bit about your background in athletics.
Gracie, before you get into this, I'm really sorry, but I was supposed to announce our sponsor is Lee University for this episode, and I forgot again. We call that shouldn't on ourselves. But all of you guys know what that means. SHOULD. All right. Anyway, go ahead, Gracie.
All right. Hello, everyone. Like they were just saying, my name is Gracie, and I graduated from Pleasant Valley High School this past May. So growing up, I played t-ball, I played softball, I did all the sports there were in the book. And
Pleasant Valley is right near Jacksonville, Alabama, which is right on near the Georgia line, right?
Yes, so we're right between Birmingham and Atlanta, just right in the middle of them. But growing up playing sports, whether it was t-ball, softball, basketball, track, cross country, anything in the book you can think of, I tried it at a time. All the coaches and all of my teammates, they would always it was like I was on a leash, and I hated that growing up. I just remember once, this is the only time Dad has ever doubted me, and he never did it since. We were having a little shrimp bowl over at my uncle's house, and I mean, it was this huge boiling pot of shrimp and corn and everything else, and Dad was like, go get your sister, you can't get that. I said, what? He said, yeah, you're gonna burn yourself, go get your sister. So I take that pot with my one arm, and I mean, I'm scalding myself, I'm getting third-degree burns, but I didn't care. I'm just doing it because he said I couldn't do it. And ever since that day, he's never said no, go get somebody else. So whenever people are just like in sports especially, they're like, oh, you can't be doing that, I just try even harder to prove them wrong, and then whoop them at it so they don't ever say anything again. Like here recently, since I'm done with basketball and cross country, we found a love for foosball while we were at the beach, and it's 4 sticks on one side. And I mean, my boyfriend, he was like, you can't beat me in this. And I beat him with one hand in foosball, and Daddy was just on his tail. So it doesn't matter if it's anything as silly as foosball up to real life. If I know people look at me and doubt me, but that's just what they've seen in the past. And I'm trying to change that perspective for everybody who's ever been doubted, not just with a limb difference, just from whether if they don't look the same as you, or if maybe they're not as smart, because you can do anything you put your mind to.
Now, Brad, I follow you on social media, and one time my wife, I was looking at one of your pictures and scrolling, y'all are at the beach or somewhere, and she goes, that's the most beautiful family I've ever seen. So they are beautiful, all beautiful people. So tell us about the rest of your family. And Brad is a pretty impressive dude too. I mean, he's a triathlete. Pleasant Valley, I think you're kind of county commissioner now or something, aren't you? So anyway, tell us real quick about the rest of your family.
Well, I'm very blessed. I definitely married up. Anyone can tell that real quick by one picture. But my wife and I are both educators. Went through college together. Taught at Jacksonville Elementary, which is Kitty Stone, for 5 years together. Then went to Pleasant Valley, and she went on to Jacksonville State. And I've been at Pleasant Valley ever since. 3 beautiful children. They're still children, although the girls are almost grown now. Like I said, my 11-year-old son, and the girls did not prepare me for that 11-year-old boy. I can tell you right. He's a handful. He's got a sweetheart, but he is high energy, high maintenance. But just blessed to be where I am. I've actually not in the math classroom. I'm a math teacher by profession, but I've actually taken a building construction position at Career Tech here in our county system. So I've kind of made a transition from the math classroom to teaching building construction, which is, I was a little nervous about the change, but I'm enjoying it. But I'm
Now,
still.
are you coaching at all? What are
Yeah,
you coaching
still
now?
allowed. I can actually now I could coach anywhere I want in the county, but I'm still coaching cross country and then coaching, the varsity boys basketball.
Wow,
So.
incredible. What questions do you have for these incredible people here?
My first one, Tommy, is for Gracie. And focusing on this podcast and what Tommy's just goal and putting this together, and me having the pleasure to join, just learning about different people's lives and focusing on the theme of how you get through some mistakes or even adversity in your life. And I'm sure, Gracie, growing up as an athlete, you dealt with some challenges with having one arm and all the sports you played, but maybe share with us a specific instance of when you felt like you were really challenged or discouraged, but because you kept focusing on doing what you just got through saying, putting your mind to something and trying to achieve something. Basically, I think it's one of those things. I'd like to hear a story about maybe a challenging time you had in your athletic career.
So I remember when I was playing softball, like my dad was just saying, me and my sister were 16 months apart. And it was her 6th grade year and I was in 4th grade because we were 2 grade levels apart. So I'm out there, the only 4th grader out there, and I'm with 6th and 7th graders. And here I am, I'm like 2 heads shorter than everybody. I have 1 arm less than everybody. And I was out there on the softball team and I'd never played softball before. And these girls were 2 years older than me. And I just remember feeling like the little kid on the playground in softball that year. And I said, I promise you, I'm never going to feel like this again. Because me and Emma, we were not good at softball. We were out there picking flowers in the outfield. It was just way too slow paced for us. But I just remember this one.
And you're saying that to a college softball coach, by the way, which is fine. Now, what did you do with the glove? How did that work? How did you throw?
So I would have the glove in this hand. I would catch the ball, put it underneath this arm, snatch it off and then just chunk it. And I got really, really fast at that. But after playing with those girls who were 2 feet taller than me, I was like, I'm done with softball. And we never played again. But it was just the fact of learning how to make it work with myself whenever everybody else just, it was a piece of cake for them. I had to just go that one extra step. And I feel like everybody feels that way at a point in their athletic career where you're having to work harder than all these other people and you're down on yourself because everybody else, it just comes so natural to them. But I just realized the harder and the more I push myself, the more better results we'll get. And that's carried me all the way into just life itself. Like with my business, the more I'm here, the more I work, the more I see of the benefits coming out. And it's the same thing with sports and life. So I really am grateful for all the experiences that I've had that taught me through my athletic careers that has set me up for life.
So you told a story about off the air on Brad, you were telling about one of the first games where you brought her up to varsity basketball. Maybe if you could share that, that's an incredible story.
Yeah, I wish I had the highlight reel. It's about 30-second reel and it's hilarious because it shows the opposing fans kind of like I guess it's their JV boys and their guys are sitting there in the bleachers watching this. So she comes in and it's basically garbage time. We're letting 8th graders come in a varsity game. So, it's out of hand. And she's unguarded and she hits a 3. Well, the girl starts to guard her. And you can watch the fans in the background. They're kind of like, when we're watching film, breaking down film, you can see the angle of the camera. It's pointing at the opposing side. So they're kind of like leaning back in their chair. And then she hits the other one and they're like kind of jumping up. By the 5th 3-pointer she hits in the 4th quarter, the other fans, especially like the guys on the other team, they're like up and like swinging their it's like they're going nuts, watching this 8th grade girl with one arm, just catch fire.
And she's not 6'2" either, if I remember correctly.
No, she's like 5'6".
Yeah. So now you ended up having a really good high school career. Maybe talk about that. What your averages were. I know Brad was telling me like you were really, you were putting up some good numbers.
Yes, sir. Whenever me and my sister played together, it was my 10th grade year and it was her senior year. Me and my sister playing together, it was just like bread and butter. You can ask my daddy. That team, we should have went so far, but my cousin actually, she tore her ACL in the first 2 seconds of the what game was it?
Regional or sub-regional playoff.
Yeah, regional playoff game. She tears her ACL in the first
She's our point
tip
guard.
off. She's the point guard. So we should have went all the way, but me and my sister, we just went so well together that season. What was I averaging a game?
He was averaging around 13 a game.
And that was just straight off just shooting threes. And if
Running
I
the
got
floor and shooting threes.
yeah, so my thing that I would do if I didn't have an open shot whenever everybody else would be rebounding, because obviously I'm not going to be the best rebounder no matter what I do, because I'm 5'5", I cannot jump, and I'm one hand short. So I realized rebounding, I'll leave it to them. Yeah, so as soon as we would put up a shot, I would be down the court. I'd be flying. And Emma, because my sister, she was the post, she was the rebounder. She would look down the court, see me down there, she'd chunk it down there, and it was just a straight layup. So that's really, if I didn't have my open shot, then I knew I was getting down there to be the snowbird. And it was actually county tournament game of last year. We were it was the first game, wasn't it? Yeah, it was the
And
first.
you're a 22 graduate, right? Or one?
22, yes, sir.
Okay.
And county tournament of last year, it was our first game, and we were playing this team, and they had 2 people guarding me. And this is the first year that my dad was not my coach. This new coach, he's like, you just stand at half court.
Well, I took over the boys program.
Yeah.
They didn't have anybody to coach them, and it was the point where it was almost like I was going to have to do both. But we had a guy willing to, that was my assistant, that said, hey, I'll come work with these girls, and I'd love to have the girls' job, but I just don't want the boys. And basically what it was. And I like challenges, and it was a good group of guys, and they worked hard. So, I went over to the guys, and Coach Morris took over the girls' program, and I'll let Gracie finish her story about
So he told me, he said, you go stand at half court and you let them play 3-on-4 basketball. So the first half of the game, I was sitting at half court and I was pissed off. I was like, I'm not just going to be sitting here. So I had 0 points going in to the start of the third quarter. And it was just like, I was so pissed off. I was so mad. I had bottled it up. I come out, 2 girls still guarding me, and I end up dropping 35 in the third and fourth quarter of that county tournament. I was so mad.
Oh,
And then
man.
by the end of it,
It's almost like, it's really almost unbelievable. I mean, like you couldn't make it up.
Yeah, like I'm trying to envision, Gracie, just how you learn how to shoot, with one arm, and just to be able to make 35 in a game. I mean, much less just the way you had to learn, just the process of doing that and being a competitive basketball player. This is just an amazing story to me.
And if you have the perfect shooting form, you only use one hand.
Mm.
Two hands. It's just balance.
I'm going to remind my youngest daughter of that today.
Just
So,
tie it behind
yeah.
her back and just make her
Have
use
her-
one hand.
Yeah.
Oh.
So this story just epitomizes mental toughness and the next play in life and just moving through whatever challenges. But Gracie, just tell us your history with what happened with your arm. Were you born with that? With
Yes,
one arm?
I was, but that's not what I normally tell people. So if we're at the beach, I tell, because everybody always comes up and asks.
I bet you tell them it was bit by a shark.
Yes,
shark.
whenever I
Oh
was
my God.
I think got bit up by
I
a
love
shark.
it.
And
I love
those
it.
kids would not get in the water for the rest of the week.
What do you do when she does that, Brad? You just laugh at her and you just go with it.
I think we were at Disney and we were near the swamp. We were staying somewhere at plantation type feel in Disney, and there were those little swampy lakes there, and she told some kids there it was an alligator. So
I bet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh man. So you were born with it. And so Brad, tell us about that. You have this.
we had no idea until she was born that this was, she had that, she was missing her arm, and
The last sonogram had all 10 fingers, all 10 toes.
yeah, and what it is,
Wow.
it's just basically her arm somehow penetrated the wound, and it's almost like the fibrous band It almost called it the tourniquet syndrome, where the arm was outside of the band, and as the wound formed, it almost like pinched it off. Almost if you put a rubber band around your finger and keep twisting it, eventually cut off circulation and pinch off. But basically that's what happened to her. So it wasn't a deformity or anything like that. We went, and my wife had to go to I don't know how many DNA specialists, and we went to all types of specialists because she was just so because she knew she wanted to have another child, and she just wanted to make sure everything was all right. And everybody told her it was nothing we could do. It was just a freak, one of those freak things that happens sometimes. And it took her a long time to get over it. Everybody was upset in the delivery room. I remember Tara was crying, the doctor was crying, her mother was crying, and I was like, is this it? Is this all that's wrong with her? Everybody else, everything's good. So I literally, awesome. I don't know how I had the strength and to be positive and in that moment, but I was like, she's fine. There's nothing
breathing. Yeah.
Well, this is the worst thing. She just lost part of her arm. Everything else is good. And they were like, yeah. And so it's it was tough. It was a shock, but for me, I wasn't really, it wasn't I was upset. Everybody else was upset, but I was really excited. She was healthy other than that, and everything else was good.
And that's actually where they got my name. Mama and Daddy were arguing about my name, and the doctor, because Nana has told me this story, everybody was screaming, crying, and the doctor just started singing Amazing Grace, and that's where they got the name Gracie from.
Wow.
Great story.
Yeah.
Golly, man, gives me, I got choked up a little bit. So,
she have scars and bumps and bruises. You can't really tell. Like when most kids learn to walk, they're able to catch themselves when they lose their balance.
I busted my head wide open.
She's had stitches and busted her head and her mouth, and lucky she still has teeth. But she, where most kids fall and catch themselves, she would fall and face plant. She'd fall on a bicycle and she couldn't catch herself with her, on the left side with her, So there's a lot of stuff that growing up little that just made her tough and mentally tough and physically tough that that she had to go through, that you don't even realize. Just something learning to walk, of course you're going to fall, but when she fell, she couldn't catch herself.
God.
And talking about accomplishing a lot in life. And
so what about like the prosthetic limb? Is that something you could do and you just chosen not to?
Whenever I was little, I remember y'all took me to what was it called? Shriners. And I was so uncomfortable. I was like, I don't want a fake arm. I was like, don't give me that. And then here recently, didn't you have surgery or something? You got a special brace or something. And I could have gotten this $25,000 robotic arm that like actually moves. But I was just like, I don't want that. I went this far without it. I don't need it now.
That's so cool.
That's awesome.
So tell us like what you're doing now, Gracie. I know you mentioned about your business, but why don't you tell us about what you're doing since you graduated high school?
Well, my best friend, she was a 45-year-old woman. Like I was dead set on being with her because just meeting her was a whole nother God story. And I worked for her for 2 years. I remember Mama and Daddy were mad at me when I got the job because they were like, you play 3 sports and 2 travel balls. They were like, you don't have time to have a job. But I just knew I was drawn to this woman, and she reached out to me. So I worked for her for 2 years, and she always promised me, she was like, I'll pay you more than any degree can. You don't need to go anywhere. She's like, but never let me hold you back. And she actually passed away. It's about to be up on a year from COVID. And I just knew in my heart, I was like, that woman was in my life for a reason. Her name was Tara. And I knew that she was in my life for a reason. And I could just feel God tugging on my heart. This is what you're meant to do. So at the age of 17, I decided to open up my own business. We started this business on $2,000 in our dining room. And just, it's not even been a year. And today, actually, we reached 10,000 customers that have our app downloaded and 50,000 followers on our TikTok and social medias and everything.
So what is the business? Is it clothing related or what is it?
It is. I sell women's clothes, and it's actually called Hey Sister. It's me and my sister. And the name of our business actually is because of athletics as well. It's so crazy.
Wow. So Hey Sister. So what kind of clothes is it? What sets you guys apart?
Well,
and first of all, you are now what, 19 years old, 18, 19, 20?
18.
18 years old, and you have a business that has how many followers?
10,000 customers.
We have
10
50,000 followers and 10,000 people that have our app downloaded.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
speaking of
That's
advertising,
talking
Lee
about an
University,
entrepreneur.
Lee University is sponsoring this show, so we're thankful for Lee University. And look up leeuniversity.edu, and great small classes, small platform, everything's great there. Wow, Gracie. So how can people get in touch with you then with this business? I'm sure we're going to have a lot of high school girls, college girls listening to this. So, or my wife, I don't know who do you market to? So,
I sell anything from 15-year-old girls to 70-year-old women. Like, we just have a great mix of both. But our name, actually, me and my sister, like I was telling y'all earlier, we loved playing basketball together. And there was this one team, it was all African Americans, and they were just really, really bad at basketball. Like that, it was one of them games where we beat them 80-10. And
Not on purpose.
not on purpose, no, it would be the bench. And they always would tell each other, "Hey, sister." And me and my sister just thought it was the funniest thing in the world. And this was probably 4 or 5 years ago. And ever since that day, we have just called each other sister. It's not even Emma or Gracie. I remember referees used to ask us, like, is your name sister? I'd be like, no, sir. Because it just, like, the whole community knew us as sisters. So whenever it came to naming my business, I just knew basketball had played such a huge part in, like, making me who I am. And I was like, it's no question that it's going to be Hey Sister.
well, at 18, first of all, Gracie, I have 2 biological sons and 4 stepsons. So if you can pick any of the 6, and I'll make sure that that you can have to marry them. I'll make sure it happens, and you probably can do better than all of them. But just so you know that's always an option if this guy doesn't work out.
You're gonna need quite a few head of cattle before you make that trade.
Yeah, so just know, that's always out there for you. But what do you think is? I mean, you've accomplished so much at 18 years old. It's just, I mean, it's almost. Where do you see yourself 15 years from now, 20 years from now?
Oh gosh. Well, we have moved into this 40 by 60 little warehouse.
So you built it.
Yeah, I built, like, I can't believe I had the money to pay for this. Like, it's just so crazy to me because it's just been so fast. I remember the IRS called me and they were like, "Are you selling drugs? How are you bringing this money in so quick?" Like, they really thought I was selling drugs. And I know that it takes a long time to build up a business, and the fact that I've done this in 8 months, there's no telling where I could go with it.
Shipped all 50 states.
I have shipped to all 50 states. I've shipped to New Zealand and Canada. So I just know if I've already done this in 8 months, I have to go huge. I can go bigger. So my dream is to have a huge, massive warehouse and just 100 workers. That's my dream. That's where I see myself in 15 years.
Well, I don't think you should ever limit your vision, because I don't know if there's anything you can't accomplish. Because here I am as an entrepreneur, and I have 12 followers on Instagram. So anyway.
You really have to push your TikTok if you want to go. TikTok is free money.
I need to get you to put this podcast, put everything out there. We'll see if we can.
You pick
I don't know
her
what
brain
we're
on some
giving you, but
advertising
yeah.
ideas.
So,
Yeah.
well, great. How can people get in touch with you? What's
They can shoot me a message on my Instagram or Facebook. It's just Hey Sister Boutique. It's actually shop Hey Sister Boutique. Or you can message me personally on my Instagram. Just type in Gracie Hood and I'll pop up. And it's just awesome. I'm so glad to have this opportunity with y'all.
What would you say to a 9th grade athlete? What do you think one of the keys to success in life and athletics is? What would you say? What advice would you give? What advice would you give to your brother that I guarantee he doesn't listen to? What is that? No,
he won't listen. If I had to tell a 9th grade girl, because I feel like I was just there yesterday, don't you? Like, I feel like I was just there. I would just tell them, you fight harder than all the other people and you'll see the benefits. Don't let somebody outwork you. Don't let somebody show you up. You just fight every single day and it'll be worth it in the end. No matter how hard it hurts, no matter how bad you want to quit, you just keep going every day. And I promise you, you will see the benefits of it.
Powerful
Fantastic.
stuff. Brad, Gracie, thank you. Again, thank you to the university for this episode. And Greg, any parting words on that? I don't know.
No, this is
you
just
can say
amazing.
to-
I mean, what an amazing young lady. And
Yeah.
I know a great family that, you know, that raised her. And, you know, I think it's just, again, another example of there's so many folks out there in life that have dealt with challenges and had to overcome, you know, all kinds of adversity. And Gracie's another example of somebody that has succeeded through it.
And Brad, you know, I mean, I know you're proud as can be of her, but you know, what a great thing you did where you just were like, hey, let her figure it out. Let her do it. Let's go. And it's just,
Same with her business. I had her come talk to my building construction guys. It's 10th, 11th, and 12th grade guys who many are there to learn a trade and they want to forward their life. But a lot of kids go there just to get out of class. They want to go to career tech, which we used to call trade school, just to get out of class, and they just want somewhere to hang out. But I know I'm kind of the last person to give them a chance at a vision for life. I may not teach them building construction, but my calling is just to, you know, teach life skills. And she
Yeah.
was the first speaker to come speak to my class. And it was amazing to watch these high school guys they think they're too cool, sit up in their chair and they start listening to this 18-year-old girl talk about you can control your future. You make good decisions. You work hard. Don't sit and
Yeah.
wait for somebody to give it to you and hand it to you on a silver platter. Those guys start sitting up and they were listening, like, hear this little 5'5", you know, 18-year-old girl talking to a business, you know, a building construction class, but she's in the business field. And when she left, the buzz was around the room. Everybody's talking about, man, she made it, she did it. And nobody gave it to her. She started it with $2,000 and built it from nothing. So she was my first
Awesome.
speaker in class. So it was awesome.
it's awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much. And again, thank you to the university for this podcast. And this is going to be a great one. Thank you so much. We'll
Thanks
see you
for
next time.
See you.